FBI facilitated censorship requests on behalf of Ukrainian intelligence agency compromised by Kremlin. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, so let's slow this down. So the Ukrainian intelligence agency is going to the FBI and being like, we want these ideas censored. And they're like, you got it, boss. Meanwhile, it was actually the Russians facilitating it. How incredible is this? A new report released by the House Committee on the Judiciary and the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government has revealed that the FBI under Joe Biden facilitated censorship requests to American social media companies on behalf of a Ukrainian intelligence agency infiltrated by Russian-aligned actors. Okay, let me try to wrap my head around this. Does that mean the people who are doing the censorship are actually Russian useful idiots?
I have no idea.
No. So this story is Russians pretending to be Ukrainians got the FBI to censor people. So that means the people being censored were being censored at the request of Russians. Joe Biden, his administration, inadvertently colluded with the Russians to silence Americans.
Yeah, Joe Biden's a Russian puppet, and I think I can say that with full sincerity.
Maybe since the 80s.
Because, well, here's the thing.
A Soviet puppet?
People accuse Donald Trump of having been a Russian puppet. I don't believe that's true, but if he wanted to choose to be a Russian puppet, he could have been. The thing about Joe Biden is he's in a very precarious position because it's very easy to become a puppet when you don't have a brain. And anyone who sends him any information that is vetted by the people around him who supposedly care about him, who I also don't think are necessarily the brightest minds this country has to offer, can get him to say and do things that are very much not in line with the interests of this country. So yeah, Joe Biden censoring people on the behest of a foreign power because there was misinformation spread by that foreign power that eventually reached him is not exactly a shocking thing.
But I just want to point out once again, the Democrats were the ones doing what they were accusing the Republicans of doing.
It's projection.
As usual.
Beyond projection.
Also, smash the FBI into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. Just saying. Just an idea.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
I guess the larger question is, what do we do to solve a problem like this?
What do you think?
I have no idea.
We can't
Come on, you got it. It needs to be you. You have to figure this out for us right now.
Pressure.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I mean, you're right. I mean, he's a puppet anyway. You know, you could get him to do just about anything, but that's interesting that they've got it framed like that.
The FBI was working on behalf of the Russians?
Right.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't it?
Maybe the real goal is to deflect the U.S. away from what China is doing.
I mean, that's
The Russians are working with China.
Yeah.
The Russians want us preoccupied. Maybe everything they're doing is a distraction so that China can move on Taiwan, which is substantially more important strategically than Ukraine is to Russia.
Yeah.
Could be.
Before all those new chip fabs can be built in the desert.
Yeah. And then think about this. The people who get censored on social media tend to be right-wing and tend to oppose the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Why would Russia want these particular individuals censored? Unless they were targeting the left or liberals or something like that.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what those censorship requests were. What was censored at the behest of, I guess, now Russian moles and Ukrainian intelligence, which is such a crazy statement to make. But
this is amazing. The SBU, this is Russian intelligence, sent the FBI lists of thousands of social media accounts accused of spreading Russian disinformation, which the U.S. agency then distributed to social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Holy crap.
wow.
Compromised by Russia. Who could have seen that coming?
Not on the bingo card.
Yeah, we've honestly developed a very strange view of Russia over the past 5 or 6 years. You guys remember about 10 years ago when Mitt Romney said that Russia was going to become a massive geopolitical threat, and everyone laughed at him. And to be fair, rightly so, Mitt Romney is to be laughed at. But this was something that even the left thought was ridiculous at that time. And then as soon as it became politically advantageous to them to start blaming Russia for everything, they did. And they haven't stopped. They have not stopped. And now we have the Biden administration, I guess, maybe changing their tune on that, of course, inadvertently, it seems.
Joe Biden.
Good old Joe.
Yep.
I've been saying that unironically for a while, but the more and more that you talk about it potentially being China and Russia essentially playing blocker for it, that's what I kind of think is happening. It's unfortunate, but that's what I think is happening.
We talked about World War III. I guess the question is all of this a distraction, or what will lead up to, say, the invasion of Taiwan, which is really going to kick things off?
Yeah. There's part of me that thinks that regardless of what happens, what the Chinese do in relation to Taiwan, the U.S. can't really do anything about it. This is an unexpert opinion, because I'm not a geopolitical expert or anything, but I just don't see the United States, having the wherewithal to actually go to, have any kind of combat in the South China Sea over Taiwan. If I understand correctly, we don't have the munitions. The U.S. military power is down 25%, I think, is the recruitment goal that they were down last year, that they missed it by. Overall, I don't know exactly which branch had what the deficit was for each branch, but they're not making recruitment goals. They're sending all of the bombs and stuff that we have over to Ukraine, and our stores of munitions have run low, if I understand correctly. So
but that's also just good for a lot of like the military industrial complex. They want to make new ones.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't see how that's true, and I agree with you. But I don't see how the U.S. is in a position to actually engage in any kind of defense of Taiwan, especially if we're what amounts to a two-front war, at least logistically. Like, we don't have, people on the front lines in the Ukraine, but we're, sending munitions to the Ukraine as if we're engaged in it. So a two-front logistical war, I don't see the U.S. being able to handle that.
Well, I mean, I can't speak too much to, like, the tactics or what we have with respect to, munitions or anything like that, but what I'm curious about is how the United States would be able to get enough people to sign up to fight in any of these wars. I think a lot of the people who are supporting the Russia-Ukraine war are not people who are going to enlist for combat roles in the U.S. military. I think that if China were to invade Taiwan, there's probably more people who would be willing to enlist to fight that war, but I can't imagine enough people for that to be a possible reality who would be willing to sign up. So the question is, what does the government do? I mean, how does the government get people to enlist if this happens?
The moment there becomes a true existential threat to the United States, all of these leftists are going to start screaming, good. America is bad and it shouldn't exist anyway.
Think so? Yeah,
they're not going to fight anything. They're going to be like, yay.
Yeah.
Or run.
Or what they'll do is they'll demand that other people fight it for them. This is something kind of remarkable too. When you look at how much we've stratified as a nation, how much we've broken apart, how little people see themselves as part of a common project anymore. When you look at what happened on 9/11, New York City was attacked, and a bunch of guys from the South signed up to fight a war because of it. Do you think that Southerners would enlist to fight a war if New York got attacked today? I think fewer of them probably would. I think we don't see ourselves, because at that time it was understood that was an attack on our nation. I think today we don't really see ourselves as a unified whole. And I think if one part of the country got attacked, way fewer people would feel as if it was an attack on our entire country, and they would just see it as an isolated attack on that group of people. I don't think we view ourselves the same way we did in 2001 with respect to national loyalty. I don't think we see ourselves as loyal. And also, I think whether we would sympathize with them enough to like enlist in some kind of conflict, or whether people in other parts of the country would, is also going to be highly dependent on who attacks them.
I agree with you pre-attack. I think that the temperament of the most people in the U.S. would change post dramatic attack. I think that your assessment is correct. Like the way that the stratification of the population of the U.S. has gone in the past 20 years, I think you're dead on. But I do think that a massive attack that claims a lot of lives or is dramatic would change. Now, I don't think that it would have the same. You don't think there'd be any change at all?
Nope.
I do. Yeah,
Everybody thought that COVID would unite the country. They're like, oh man, this virus. No way.
Yeah, well, I think what might end up happening is there would just be like competing narratives on which political party was to blame. Even if it was a foreign nation that attacked us, people on the left would say this is because the right wasn't hawkish enough. People on the right would say this is because the left wasn't serious enough about the threat. I think it would become a culture warish. I think it would become left versus right.
If New York got attacked today, the left would come out and be like, the right wasn't taking Russia seriously, and we've been screaming, and the right would be like, oh, screw you, you know what you're talking about.
You escalated tensions.
Yeah, you were the ones who were causing the fighting in Ukraine. We were trying to tell you to stop. We're not defending you. This is your problem. You cleaned it up.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I still think, I mean, when it comes to Taiwan, I think the main reason that that China wants Taiwan is also, it's partly for like political gain inside China, to be able to say like, oh, we've united China like you meant to for a long time. It could be like all the Chinese presidents for years have had like their crowning achievement. It could be what he's using to like, leave with his good legacy. But they need the chip fabrication. That's the valuable part, and that's so easy to tamper with, to destroy. It can be done with by Taiwanese people inside the country immediately. I know Taiwan or Ukraine is important for the warm water port for Russia. I don't know. I think Taiwan, as much as I hate to say it, I don't know if people would be willing to go and jump for that war just as much as they wouldn't be willing to jump for Ukraine. It'd be the same kind of stalemate. People aren't going to want to go do it.
Yeah, well, I think also when you look at the country in 2001, people were all willing to come together and agree that Al-Qaeda was an enemy, that they were a real existential threat. Obviously, we all believe that was misapplied in retrospect when you look at the wars we went to. But today, whether you're talking about Russia or you're talking about China, for the most part, the American people have no agreement on who their enemy is, other than to agree that our enemy is one another.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's what the American people believe today. That's how we see the country. We are each other's enemy.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.